Or we can probably pull with this.
Welcome
But,
back.
okay. Here it is. The Wrathgate cinematic. I want to see... This is my favorite. First in-game cinematic ever added to the game. This thing was epic as hell.
One interesting thing about the early days of World of Warcraft was a lot of the voices were actually done by employees. When Bolvar, as he walked past the battlefield, you heard different Alliance soldiers. One
Yeah, I
of those
remember
was
this.
me. Forlorder on! Forlorder on!
That's actually cool. Spoiler alert.
Hi, I'm Taryn Gregory, lead cinematic narrative designer for World of Warcraft. Today we're going to be talking about Wrath of the Lich King, more specifically, in-game cinematics and how they came to be. Warcraft 3
Yes.
actually ended on a cliffhanger. Arthas claimed Frostmourne, and it claimed his soul. And it is here where the spire of Ice-Crown Citadel towers over the frozen wastes. The story will continue in World of Warcraft. Blizzard has always had a
The best story,
of just
in
great
my opinion,
cinematics.
in all of
The
WoW
video
lore.
team had a lot of fun putting together these gameplay trailer moments, including the Black Temple, Zulaman, the Sunwell, and even side projects like Nomergon News. I love Nomergon News. So
Oh, that's good
the
stuff.
creative leadership team of World of Warcraft began to see these as having greater potential. So we looked to in-game cinematics for the
Oh, yeah.
first time.
I'll make sure I
They
remind
came
everyone how
us
to do
with a
this right.
script, and it was evident from the pages that this was a major moment. This was the first time that the Lich King would confront the players in the flesh.
True. So epic, man. What a great line.
So we started storyboarding with our storyboard artist, actually drawing pen on paper, and created over 400 line drawings, and it revealed just the sheer scope of the complexity of the project. So now a handful of video artists are given an exciting and almost terrifying opportunity to make a cinematic using the in-game engine. But the engine really
Oh,
wasn't
yeah.
designed to do it. There'd never been any cinematic expressions in World of Warcraft, with the exception of these gameplay trailers that we've been putting together. So we were gonna have to get innovative, we were gonna have to try new things, and we ended up doing a whole lot with the engine
And
we
it
never
worked.
thought was possible.
It worked, man. This thing was
very,
epic.
Very most important part of any filmmaker's
Blackfish,
toolkit
there
was
will
the
be a
camera,
spot once I get a
and we
healer.
really hadn't had any camera technology yet. One hookup was created that was actually called Commentator. Esports in WoW were in its early days, but they needed the ability to have a really good camera to follow the action. And so the Commentator hookup in the game engine gave us the opportunity to write a WoW add-on called Camera Guy, just like your damage meters, just like your UI.
Huh.
And this tool allowed us to do things we'd never done before in the engine. We could pilot a camera through, and it could buffer and smooth the actions, and then we could play that path back again, which
Damn.
allowed us to record a background, a foreground, a midground, layer them together. This is what allows
Bro,
us
this thing
to
took a
up
lot of
the
work.
visual fidelity and
It was
really
so good.
get depth in our scenes, and it produced some pretty good results. Even 14 years later, the fundamentals of Camera Guy and our add-ons are still used by our video department to capture in-game material. So the Wrathgate was ultimately the confrontation of three armies. Any
Yes.
fighting that you see on screen was NPCs that we specifically created to fight each other. But if we actually needed them to move from point A to point
This part.
B, we didn't have the tech.
You remember when he comes out and does that roar? I remember thinking like, holy shit. This cinematic is so much more next level than I've ever seen in World of Warcraft. I just thought the animations looked so good. And remember, like, when this came out, this was, 10 years ago now? How long ago was this? Even longer. And it was so good. It was so good and so different.
Technology to do this yet. So what did we use? People. We actually had up to 40 quality
It's been
assurance
84
testers
years.
that would join us
Justin's
on
right, yeah.
voice chat, and we'd get the raid together, and they would take their places. 1, 2, 3 action, and they would run from here to there, run from here to there. Sometimes we'd have custom models, and when we would use these custom models, they were only really loaded on the computer that was our camera. Some of the QA testers who were working as our actors, when they loaded into the game, they wouldn't see what we were seeing through the camera lens. They'd see little squares of blue and white checker patterns. And they kept asking on voice chat, "Are you sure it looks good? Does it look correct on your side?" And we'd be like, yeah, no, it looks awesome. And it did look good.
Nice.
Rise up, sons of the Horde!
My favorite shot was when the
Cool.
army of the Horde actually descended from their fortress and rode up the steps of the Wrathgate on the back.
Yeah,
of
this
the
was a
wolves.
badass
And if
moment.
you watch that shot, you'll see
First ever confirmation of cross-faction raiding in game right there.
that actually it's a whole bunch of players lined up. They all hit run. They all hit slash
No way.
cheer right on their mark.
Targa for the Horde!
And that was all
That's
played
so
in real
badass.
time,
It was
just
real
like a
people.
role-playing session, as any role players would make up their scene and play out a high adventure of the Horde storming the Wrathgate.
Arthas!
A lot of the charm of the Wrathgate cinematic in my heart is that it's truly in-game. And keeping it in that art style, I think, is valuable to create a
Yeah.
more cohesive experience for the player. That's not to say that we didn't do some cosmetic work on the characters. We actually up-resed the feature characters of the Wrathgate quite a lot.
That's an up-res. That's an up-res back then. But I did like that they kept it like in-game because you really did feel like you were witnessing this happen in the game. And once the cinematic was over, it had happened.
Before the character models were redone in Warlords of Draenor,
What's
the
up,
human male
what's up, sir?
face
How's it going,
had
Sir
eyes
Quack?
with 6 sides on the pupils and didn't even have teeth. And we had to do a lot of work around that area to make it deform in a satisfying way. But we did it in a way that it didn't move away from exactly what you thought the characters looked like. The thing about the Wrathgate is it was probably over 90%
rolling Sire? Yes,
of the
we are.
shots were done using animations that already
Are you queued
existed
up?
in the game. One of the most iconic lines of the Wrathgate
Did you think we had forgotten?
was
Oh,
just
yeah.
Putris up on the hillside, and he's just doing the slash bow animation, but at like 3% speed. You just take the speed slider.
I
all the way
never
down,
realized. This is
and
so
he's
cool to
actually
find
doing
out.
This off camera and leaning down. Did you think we had forgotten? And
It's so cool how they used like the small amount of assets they had, right? Like that's just a bow, but like he said, it looks like he's like creepily leaning in while he's talking.
no one would be the wiser.
This
that
was
that
grade A
really
Blizzard, man.
just an emote. This one shot where Bolvar is running into the frame and uppercutting the
Boom!
undead. If
The
you
teeth go flying. Man,
could
so
actually
good.
pull that shot apart, you could see that it was a hard swap from one animation to the other, just covered up by that foreground object. We used a lot of tricks to make sure that we
Mm-hmm.
could use the in-game animations effectively. My team started getting really innovative.
Who are you
with
in
the
queue?
vehicle tech.
Sir Quack.
This was a new technology
Oh,
that
Quack
allowed
and Doom, of
players to
course.
kind of attach themselves to another object and drive it around. At the end,
Right.
the big scene with the dragons as they're laying down the red dragon fire, we needed dragon breath. Instead of doing it traditional composite methods, we ended up making a vehicle out of the fire on the ground. The pillar of fire breath would sit in the seat of the fire, and then the dragon would attach to the pillar of flame. And the whole thing was now a car. We would just drive around the battlefield.
Okay.
And it looked like a dragon strafing, when it was just this vehicle being piloted around.
So funny, man.
One
This
of the
is
things
such
that made
cool
the Wrathgate
insight.
So memorable is that it wasn't just the cinematic, and one of the coolest things that supported the Wrathgate was the new technology of phasing. When phasing technology came online, the
Phasing.
events of the movie actually transpired in
Yeah,
the game.
they happened.
And
That's what
seeing
was so
how
cool
dynamic
about
the
it.
world had become both before and after was completely new, and phasing is the technology that allows this to happen. As the Wrathgate started coming together, it actually inspired the content and quest design team to look to what needed to happen in the aftermath. We needed to follow through.
Yes,
on the
this
events of
quest
the
line was
Wrathgate
so good.
Now, immediately, right in the quest follow-up. And that's how the battle for the Undercity came to be. As things come online,
Such a
and
good
other
quest
designers
line.
see what other
God,
people
I
are
miss
working
this
on,
stuff.
it can reflect and push the story forward.
Soon we march upon our fallen city and reclaim it.
I remember my friends and I talked about that quest line the next day. We did it, right? And then we talked about it all day. Was how cool. We were Alliance back then, so we invaded the Undercity and everything, and we kept, oh, Varian could have kicked their ass and taken the Undercity, but we left. It was such an awesome, quest line and part of the game.
To the living!
When the Wrathgate first went live in that beta program and we started getting the feedback, and it was some of the most
Oh, we're
positive
gonna
feedback
pump.
we'd received, all the hard work we'd done was paying off. This changed World of Warcraft. It made it
So
feel
good.
more immersive, like the story was coming to life. And it had a profound effect moving forward in World of Warcraft. Through all subsequent updates, in-game cinematics became a major staple of all
Yep.
major moments in the game. I will never forget my experience working on the Wrathgate, the wonderful crew who worked on it with me, and how much it meant to me as a player, as a fan, as someone who just loves Warcraft.
Look at the passion,
and even
man.
14 years later, and dozens of in-game cinematics that have come in the aftermath. There's nowhere else I'd rather be. There's nothing I'd rather be working on.
Crazy, man.
Thanks for taking this trip down memory lane with
Crazy
me.
moment.
And I really hope to see you in Northrend. Take care.
So good. So good. What an iconic moment in the game. What an iconic moment. Yeah, no, one of the coolest parts about that, you know, Justin, I saw your comment where you said, it's cute seeing people really into their work. This is over my head, and I'm just like, hey, that's pretty. Exactly. I mean, you could see the passion they had for the game and you know, making World of Warcraft great back then. And hopefully we're coming back to that, but you could definitely, you know, the way they were working, they were trying to make things work with the engine and the tools they had, and it came out great, and you could see the passion that they had to make it great. Mag says, one BlizzCon we paid to have a meet the team dinner, and the lore guy blew us away. No way, that's awesome, actually. What a cool moment that is, a meet the team dinner. Yeah, hopefully this group, yeah, we're ready to pump. We're ready to pump. I love to see that orc family, that orc family being one-shotted. Oh, yeah, that was sad, man. That was sad. That was Sourfang's son. Sourfang's son. Glory and honor. He went out. He went out in a blaze of glory. That's for sure.